Started in 1965, probably halfway through the season. I think my first race was at Long Eaton. It was a bit of a disaster. I led for 10 laps, which I thought was fantastic. And then a bloke called Albert Griffin, 178, came along and stuffed me into the fence, and there was very little left of the car. But we went home and mended it, and we carried on from there. I think I spent 2 years of racing, where every meeting I used to take it home in bits. In fact, I didn't finish a race for at least 8 months, 9 months. In fact, it was fantastic when I finished my first race. Yeah, I suppose you could say I served my apprenticeship to the full. It was a heat win at Aycliffe. I can't really recollect exactly where, but I'm almost sure it was at Aycliffe. I think it was in 1966, but the first final win was in 67 at Long Eaton. I remember the bar vividly because I never used to drink in them days. I used to drink orange juice, and my dad used to drink whiskey and Canada Dry with my mum, and they all used to get drunk, and I used to drive the wagon home sober. So I remember it well, and that bar at Aycliffe was something else. All the characters that used to get in there, unbelievable. I think I've been to most of the tracks in them days. In fact, I have obviously been to them all. Prestatyn was a good do because we used to go there on a Saturday. We set off in the afternoon, we used to race, and then we used to come home Saturday night after my dad had got drunk in the bar. And we used to come home, and then my uncle always used to pull up at the side of this field where there was potatoes, and they used to raid this potato field and come home with like 20 pound of potatoes each, and they dug them with their own hands, and that was their highlight of the night. I mean, I wasn't right bothered me because I could go to Chippy and get 6 of chips. 6pence they were then. I've been threatening for the last 3 years or 3.5 years to pack up, for the simple reason that to race full time for me would be impossible because I'd be a cripple. But having said that, I will miss it. I'll miss the actual competition and racing with the lads. I'll miss it a hell of a lot, but I'll still be there. I'll still come and watch and enjoy it, and I'll still get involved. I'll never sort of break away from stock cars like a lot of people do. When you think about it, I haven't watched so many finals in the last 15 years. I'm usually in them. There's very few finals that I watch, and I understand when I do get a chance to watch one, when I haven't qualified, why the spectators travel so many miles to watch stock car racing, because it's magic to watch. No, I enjoyed watching the actual competition, the way Mike Close and Ray Tilsley and Wayman carried on, and I could just imagine I was out there and I was each of those drivers and what I would have done. And they did virtually what I would have done. They got a bit upset when they got clobbered in the fence and they backed off, and it was a magic race. I mean, them £1,000 races are probably the best races you could ever wish to watch. In the older days, when I was a lot younger, I mean, I used to lose my rag regular. I mean, young lads are like that, you know, but when you get a bit more sensible and matured in age, you tend to settle down a little bit. You've got to bite your lip and say, I'll get him next time. No, it's just, I mean, don't forget I'm 40 now. I know I keep on about it, but when you're 40, you've only got 10 years to go before you're 50. When you're 50, you're definitely on your way downhill. The first thing in life is your health, isn't it? I mean, I've been advised by doctors and a specialist up at the infirmary in Rochdale to pack racing in altogether, because I've told them what's involved, and they say that, you know, the banging and the smashing it's just squashed all the spine up at the bottom. I mean, ask guys like Dave Chisholm, he'll tell you that's why Chisholm really packed in, because of his back. I don't think there's a thing you can do. You can put whatever seat you want in, whatever cushions, whatever sort of seating arrangement. Stock cars are so solid, there's no give in the chassis, and once you hit, it automatically goes straight through your body, because you've got to be strapped in tight, otherwise you'd hurt yourself. So there's no real answer to it. The only answer is grit your teeth, grin and bear it, and get on with it. Just a build-up, I think, of banging and crashing around, and you can only bend a certain thing for so long, and then it starts to hurt. I mean, some guys in the job, they can go on and on and on. They've probably got strong backbone. Mine must be a little bit weak. Keith Barber tells me it's either 8 or 9 cars that I've built. I probably owned about 10 in my career, but I've only raced about 7 or 8, and obviously sold them off. But the thing is with cars with me, every time I've sold them, they've never been really clapped out. They've always been fairly straight and level, for the simple reason that I never seem to get involved in all the hassle. You know, my heart goes out to some of these low graders when you see them. They go out there and hit the fence at Coventry, and Christ, They come up, they drag the cars off in pieces. I mean, and sometimes it's my doing. But you know, that's stock car racing. The idea is to keep out of aggro, and I seem to have been pretty lucky in that way. As my cars seem to be pretty straight, you know. There's only one way to learn anything, and that's the hard way. I don't think anybody gains anything by learning the easy way. And nobody can say I didn't learn the hard way, because I did. And like my mate from Rochdale, Doug Cronshaw, he was the same. He learnt the hard way, and he started down there and he went up there. In fact, that was what you would call a freak accident. It was mainly the fence what did the damage. The actual wire rope chopped through the roll bars, and there was only one roll bar at the back and one halfway down the fence side that was all in the roll cage on. Every roll bar was chopped completely off. The whole of the front end, bonnet, grille and everything was wiped out, radiator, carburetor. In fact, everything was wiped out apart from 2 roll bars, which virtually saved me, really. And after looking at that, I thought, right, this roll cage just ain't strong enough, so I built a stronger one, and it seems to be alright. That's probably one of the reasons why we brought the plate in, and you know, the BSCDA got together and thought, well, right, we'll strengthen things up. It is fairly safe. I mean, who in the right mind would want to go hurtling down Cadwell Park straight at 120 mile an hour in a go-kart with your arse 2 inches off the ground? It's like a bit dodgy, is that? You're fairly safe in a Formula 1. I think nostalgia-wise, I would say the Griffin car what I bought from Will Fargreaves. That taught me how to drive that car, because it was an absolute animal. And in them days, I was a bit of an animal at the wheel, so we got together and, you know, it learnt me to drive. But I would think my favourite car would be old Gertie, I think. That was probably the most favourite car, because it was so successful and so strong and quick as well, with that big Chevy, that, you know, it's always your favourite when you win the most and you can overpower the opposition so easily. I mean, it's not that easy these days because everybody's even Stevens. But in them days, that car just seemed to be that one touch ahead. Nobody gets fed up of winning. You ask any of the lads if they ever get fed up of winning. You never do. It's the people who watch you that get fed up of seeing you win time after time after time. That's why they moan and groan and cheer at you and give you the old and all that. I mean, you can understand the way they feel, but you're out there to win, you've got to win. I don't mind all the boos and the jeers. I mean, I've had some, I've had threats and everything, but I don't like violence. I mean, stock car racing has never been like that, and it never will be, because it's so close-knit. We all make sure that there's never any violence. If there is, it's over and done within 10 seconds. But it did get to me at one time. Well, probably if everybody were like Phil Haig, it would be an absolute chaos. There'd be no fence left, there'd be no cars left, and everybody'd be scrapping. But having said that, without characters like that, the job would be no good. You definitely need them. I'd never call somebody like that, because I used to be worse than him. They chant and all that in the crowd and get everybody going. Whenever a track finishes, you always lose a little bit from stock cars, but there's always usually one to take its place. I mean, for instance, Bradford's nothing like Nelson, but people still go and they still watch a different sort of racing. The Bradford Shale track was different to the tarmac track. I think at first it took a bit of getting used to, but the racing got to be good. Before they started giving trophies for heats, I think they started giving trophies for heats in about 1971. Before that, if you won a race, you got just the money, no trophy. Right. But the first one I won was in '68 at Long Eaton. It was the first final I ever won in the Griffin car, and that sticks out a little bit, because I can remember going home that night really pleased. But then you know what happened after that. I started winning them, and I've got so many now that over the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years, I've been giving them away to young kids and, you know, just the fans in general. I must have given hundreds and hundreds away. There's a pub in Bolton somewhere that had probably 60 or 70, and they still got them, you know. I know. Well, they are an embarrassment, really. I mean, it's nice to win a trophy, but when you've won that many, they're a bit of an embarrassment. Okay, it's nice to have a trophy that means a lot in the house, but most of the trophies I've got, most of them mean every bit as much, because they all take a lot of winning. I've won one once from Hepalite Pistons. It was an actual piston with piston rings round it. In fact, that's packed away in these boxes outside now to go to Bellevue. to be on display. I would say probably one of the hardest drivers I've come up against, and the records will show. One of the hardest is Len Wolfenden. Glyn Purdy comes a close second. Dave Chisholm was hard as nails. I respect them all because they were good drivers. As regards to skillful drivers, blokes like Jim Esau were so skillful and so calm and collected in his driving. He was a different sort of driver. Gordon Smith were something else. On the night he was brilliant. But like, it's very, as you can see, it's very hard to pinpoint somebody who I respect. Somebody I think who very rarely takes his car off in pieces ever since I've known him race, and to me that's a feather in a bloke's cap who races, is Willie Harrison. Overall, he very rarely takes his car off in bits. He's always there at the finish, and when he was going good, he was unbeatable. So was Ron Rogers. You know, you can go on and on and on, but like, to respect a certain driver in particular, it's very hard to do. I suppose Doug Cronshaw sticks out most in my mind because me and him grew up as lads, and we grew up in the sport, and to watch him come from a lad who used to help me with my stock car to just going doing his own thing and just going from there to there in such a short time and beating me at every track, at Nelson and, you know, Crayford and that, it was great to watch it. And at that time we was rivals, 100% rivals, but pure friends.